Our top stories this week. In Arkansas, lawmakers are complaining about the child abuse hotline system because innocent parents have been targeted and many of them lack legal counsel as they fight to clear their names. In Arizona, the child protective industry adds a warning to the child abuse hotline informing people that making an intentional false report of child abuse is a felony, while Arizona's CPS critics are complaining that CPS agents are acting more like law enforcement than social workers. In Connecticut, lawmakers are arguing over the performance of the state's DCF commissioner, Joette Katz, after an audit of the child protective industry found repeated administrative and financial mistakes, and that many CPS agents were consistently late for work and are being paid as if they were on time. In Florida, the child protective industry sees a sharp spike in the number of foster kids due to them not only taking more kids but keeping them in foster care for much longer periods of time, while they go on a foster care provider hiring spree. In Massachusetts, Governor Charlie Baker thinks that the child protective industry is headed in the right direction despite repeated failures and a high number of unlicensed CPS agents. And in Kansas, the state decides to allow single people engaged to become foster parents, but will still not allow them to adopt stolen children. In Virginia, the child protective industry is dealing with a major backlog of child abuse investigations that haven't been completed in a timely manner. The U.S. Justice Department has found that the St. Louis, Missouri family court system routinely discriminates against black children and falls short in providing required legal protections to children in general. In Texas, a family law attorney calls the child protective industry an adoption mill that is more interested in money than kids, and that every kid taken into custody for at least 6 months is covering the paychecks of at least 25 people. In Scotland, an expert warns that the child protective industry is looking at a torrent of human rights cases over its forced adoption legacy from the 1940s to the 1980s. And in New Zealand, a plan to treat kids as lab rats by sitting back for 2 years and monitoring them to see if they were abused has been blocked by the government. In Colorado, a foster mother pled guilty to the death of a toddler in her care after she failed to seek medical attention for the child after a series of falls, including one down a set of stairs last year. In Florida, a state senator files a proposal that calls for the state to pay out the money from a court-ordered settlement against the child protective industry on behalf of the twin brother of a little girl who died at the hands of her adoptive parents back in 2011. And in Arkansas, sources identify a child who died in a hot car as being left there by a family court judge. In England, a young man is suing the child protective industry after he was placed with a pedophile who raped him while in foster care. And in West Virginia, the children's home is being sued after a kid was raped while in their care. In Australia, a man was arrested after being named as a suspect in a series of unsolved bombings and shootings of family court judges back in the 1980s. In England, a judge criticizes the reprehensible behavior of social workers in adoption cases who made claims against the real parents that weren't true. A British father who was arrested after locking 2 horrified social workers in his flat had to be wrestled from the courtroom where he refused to accept his sentence. And finally, tonight in North Carolina, a social worker was sentenced to probation and home detention for selling the private information of 25 kids. For these stories and all the latest dirt on the child protective industry, visit www.legallykidnapped.com. And until next week, this is Baby LK, over and out.